All right, good evening, you guys. I'm going to continue on in my series of videos about Madison Marquette and looking into the people that are currently supporting her um, on social media. And I get my information from YouTube and, you know, outside sources otherwise. I don't have any other social media accounts besides YouTube. That's so. Anyway, I wanted to just, briefly look at the people that were supporting Madison. And I went to go look at Jessie Czebotar. It's so deep that it's just deep. And in my opinion, not a good way. And, you know, on this subject of discernment that people keep talking about, whenever I listen to somebody, I do check in with myself. Do I feel like worshiping God because I have listened to this person? Do I know God better? Or is the body built up? Okay, so that's where, you know, my discernment comes from. And my discernment doesn't get that from this group with Madison Marquette and those supporting her. So I was hoping to group some people together and just, keep a 30-minute video. But no, this is pretty deep and pretty connected. So there's a group of people that did a program from the Right On Radio YouTube channel. It was Jeff, the main guy, David Zublik, Jody LaDolce, Chantel Mayberg of Aquarius Rising Africa YouTube channel, Jessie, Carmen Studer, and George the Iceman. And I forget, let me see. Okay, so I don't have George the Iceman. I don't have his YouTube channel's name on here. So these people got together on May 16th of 2021 and did a program in support of Jessie. They called it Circling the Wagons around Jessie. So everyone weighed in on their support of Jessie. Now, when Jeff, I'm going to jump around a little bit here, but whenever Jeff opens this particular program on May 16th of 2021 from the Right On Radio, first thing, he says that all their channels of this panel that's represented here, they're under attack because of Jessie. And the reason that I laugh is because it's like, Jessie's sitting right there. And here you have all these other people like, we're being attacked because we support Jessie. Anyway, so Jeff gives 3 reasons that he believes that people would attack Jessie. And here we go. The first reason that Jeff gives is cognitive dissidence. People cannot believe the level of evil. Okay, so there you go on May 16th, repeating the cognitive dissidence message. And Then he thinks that selfish ambition might be involved. If people use Jesse's name, it'll bring traffic to their blog channel or, whatever platform that person might be using. Or they might be his third reason was they might be a high-level agent for evil people, is what he's saying. And he says that he works for God and God wins. Read the back of the book. David Zublik gets the floor first. Jeff gives him the floor first because he first watched Zublik. Now, on this particular program, Jeff says that his Right on Radio YouTube channel is about 7 months old. Jeff asks everyone to briefly say, what their channel is about and, what support they're offering Jessie. So David Zublik shares that he has a charity called Shared Hope International that proceeds from his channel contribute to that charity. He says his channel discusses a little bit of everything. David says he is a stronger, more devoted Christian because of Jessie, and anyone opposing her will have to go through him. Then next was Chantel Mayberg. She watched 5 or 6 videos of Jessie on David Zublik, and anyone who wanted to harm Jessie would have to come through her. So then we have Carmen Studer, Pastor Dragonfly. Jeff identifies Carmen Studer as Pastor Dragonfly. And Carmen came on board because of Michael Jaco. And she says, we've all been chosen by God to protect Jessie. Jessie is the light. Then there is George the Iceman. Reveal light into the darkness. That's what his channel is. He wanted to bring in real people who are the real deal. People that have experienced the occult and know what they are talking about and are credible. He wanted to bring them in. So 17 videos later that he did with Jessie, well, there were other videos that he did with other people, but he did have that many videos with Jessie. So George says he practices magic, and if they get attacked, he will show you what they're all about. Then after that, Jody LaDolce is introduced, and she starts talking, and she cleans up what George says. And she says, Jody clarifies what George says. They don't practice magic, they practice spiritual warfare. And George nods his head. So it sounds like he might have, just gotten a little ahead of himself there and, been a little passionate. It's understandable. But then it's Jessie's turn. I think I've got this right. Jessie explains that she was a chaplain in her community for the homeless, and she also worked at a coffee shop. She said God spoke with her to share her testimony. She wrote a presentation of signs and symptoms of what to look for from SRA victims. SRA victims meaning satanic ritual abuse victims. So as she is working at the coffee shop, she said that people began to come in and strike up conversations with her. They would, begin to talk about SRA, and she said, well, just so happens, I wrote a presentation about that. Would you like to see it? And then 350 people later, she finds her way to a person named Duval and Good Dog and then Zublik. I do not know who Duval is. I don't know who Good Dog is. I do know who Zublik is. So, anyway, I watched that much, and I found that at the tail end of, watching videos and everything else, and that was actually a surprise to me because it was showing me David Zublik, who was one of the pioneers of Jesse's testimony. So, and evidently he has done many programs with Jesse. So, Jessie has all of these YouTube channels that are devoted to her. There is a Jessie Czebotar clips with 57 videos. Those are short videos, pretty much 15 minutes or less. But there are 57 of them. They're clips of conversations that she has had with Chantel from Aquarius Rising Africa. Also, Jessie is a partner with Jeff on Right On Radio. I don't know how many videos. I didn't count the videos on Right On Radio with Jessie. Then there is the Reveal Report, which is George the Iceman. And Aquarius Rising Africa is also pretty much dedicated to Jessie. And I mean, when 80% of your videos are dedicated to Jessie, I would say that your channel is dedicated to Jessie. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 YouTube channels dedicated to Jessie. And then we have appearances for her on Denise Boland's YouTube, Carmen Studer, Jody LaDolce, and Michael Jaco. And I'm sure there are others. But on Carmen Studer, they did a program called Carmen's Crazy Questions for Jessie. Carmen bothers me because, it's like Carmen's Crazy Questions for Jessie. Pastor Dragonfly. What? What are you even talking about? So, Carmen had put out on Twitter, if anyone had questions for Jessie, she would ask on her program. There were a few questions. One of the things that I saw was someone asked, could Jessie name the current Queen of Darkness? And Jessie responded that no, she could not name the current Queen of Darkness. Not that she didn't know, which she didn't say that. It's just my impression. But my impression was she knows who the Queen of Darkness is, but she can't say. And in a Jessie Czebotar clip, she says that she has seen the Antichrist and knows who it is, but she can't say. Then on Jessie Czebotar clips, she says that she has seen the Frazzle Drip video and can confirm this was a signature of HRC. It was her preferred form of sacrifice. And on another place, Jessie says that the Clinton family were close friends with her proctor, and they would come over on the weekend often, and that was how she knew that that was HRC's preferred form of sacrifice. And I have more about that written somewhere, but I can't find it. This was, man, I thought Madison Marquette was all over the place. One thing that I want to point out is that outside of David Zublik, everyone else is relatively new channels, a year or under. Okay. Oh, this was part of that clip about the Clintons coming over for the weekends. The Clintons were close with Jessie's proctor. They would visit most weekends. Sometimes Aquino would be there, sometimes Brennan or the Orrs. Now, I read there is a bio that Jessie did with one of her channels, and it said that she was involved in this from the age of 5 to 10, I believe is what it was. So I haven't heard how she came out of it yet. Also, I have not heard how Jessie has such precise recall, how she has so many memories, and if there has been any sort of EMDR or something of that nature that has brought memories up. It's a question that I haven't heard asked or answered, and in my opinion, it's a very important question to have asked and answered. So, as things go with these different personalities, these different people on the YouTube channels that have been following Madison Marquette, there are several people. They are connected, and they are sloppy. There was one program that Jessie did with Larry Gator, the Larry Gator who calls himself Bishop Larry Gator. I've not been able to find a church that has ordained Larry Gator as a bishop, so I call him Larry Gator. And it seems to be a pattern of people gaining these titles: bishop, prophet, prophetess, and one day they're just Jody LaDolce, and the next day they are prophetess Jody LaDolce. And Jeff from Right On Radio has made an earnest effort to elevate Jessie to Esther. And on one program that Jessie does with Jeff, I don't remember who else is on it, but he said that he had two announcements to make. One was a title for Jessie that she is a best-selling author. She has published a book, and I did write the name of it down. But I don't see it right this minute. But Jeff says that she's a best-selling author. And then the next thing, they show a clip of Kim Clement, and he is prophesying about the president for the United States. And then he goes on to talk about how there will be an Esther that is raised up, and he goes into a lot of detail about she's beautiful, she has big, beautiful eyes. People hated her, but now they love her. And Jeff believes that it's Jessie that Kim Clement is talking about. And Jessie says, well, she doesn't know. There were some coincidences. I don't know what coincidences that she was speaking of, but she said there were coincidences. And then, I know, the other people that were on this program were three guys. One was Double D, then there's a B-52 and a 777. Three guys joining Jessie and Jeff. Other people may know who they are. I do not. But it's three guys joining them on YouTube. Their faces are shown and everything, but they're going under these pseudonyms. And one of them says, he says, let me see. Blast it. He says, Double D just reminded me there are no coincidences. A coincidence is God doing a miracle and choosing to remain anonymous. Okay, after that, I stopped the video. I'd heard enough. Jeff thinks that Jessie might be the Esther that Kim Clement was talking about. There were a couple of other notes that I made here, but Jessie has said so much. She talks about being the replacement for Gloria Vanderbilt, that she was being groomed for that position. She talks about a close association with the Clintons, and there is a long laundry list of incidences that Jessie shares. I call Jessie the storyteller. Because Jessie's telling stories. There is too much. Too much. Too much to Jessie's testimonies and her stories. It makes them stories. And now they're elevating Jessie to, oh, one of the things, she was on a program with Larry Gator. I started to talk about that and then I got sidetracked. So she's on a program with Larry Gator, and he said he calls Jessie Pastor Jessie. Let me see. Is that what he says? Yeah, he calls her Pastor Jessie. It's the first time that I have heard Jessie called Pastor. Then Larry Gator tells her at about 32 minutes in to this program, he declares that Jessie is a high-level theologian and that Jessie will soon begin teaching for him on his master class. That's Larry Gator, and he announced that to her. She didn't know that. That was news to her. So interesting of Larry Gator, high-level theologian. Doesn't ask. He told her. Almost like a handler. Gator talks like a handler, in my opinion, or what I would think a handler would sound like. Throwing that in there just for because. Well, I've looked at all that, listened to all that. I think it's garbage. And I think that people are interjecting themselves into what God is truly doing, and they are listening to the prophets, and they are interjecting themselves into what God is doing. I believe that there are insidious things going on in the world, the worst of the worst. I have believed that for I don't know how long. I'm 63. I probably can't remember a time that I didn't think that because I saw it. And there isn't anyone that I have on a pedestal that if they were named as someone who was a child trafficker or whatever, that my life would fall apart. I could be deeply grieved. I could be extremely disappointed. I might go into travail. It could hurt deeply. But I listen to all of this exposure and the names and everything else, and I sit, and then I go and watch Dawson and Denise YouTube channel, or Dawson Speaks. He has 2 YouTube channels. He has been outing people in the church for a while now. I'm not sure exactly how long he has had his channel, and he's been outing people in the church. He goes hard whenever someone gets busted with molesting a child, or he has multiple channels. God has been cleaning house for about 3 years that I've been watching. Well, the people that are on the programs that Dawson does, he gets it from the news, and then brings it to his channel and then, talks about it. Well, the wife whose husband got busted with a child, she didn't get any forewarning. And I'm just using these as instances. All of this warning, all of these names, God is preparing, such a huge thing that everybody has to be sitting on the edge of their seat to wait for these names to drop. Seems wrong to me. Do I think that it's happening? Yes. Do I think that a lot of people are in trouble? Yes. Do I think that God is going to move on this and on behalf of children? Yes, I do. Do I think that the most unsuspecting pastor could be guilty of hurting children, trafficking children? Yes, I do. As a survivor, I don't trust anyone. I think a lot of other survivors would say the same thing. I do believe that God uses prophets. I believe that the Word of God says He will reveal what He's going to do to the prophets before He does it. And He has said through different prophets that there will be recognizable names and there will be from the church. But you have these people who have listened to the prophets and tried to jump out ahead of this. They have suckered a lot of people. A lot of people have sat on these YouTube channels and said, "Thank you so much, Madison. Thank you so much, Madison. Thank you so much, Madison." And the rest as well. Jessie. Well, really, this all boils down to what is the profit of all of this knowledge? What is the profit of Larry Gator's masterclass and all the teaching that he does and all I dropped my earpiece. All the programming that Larry Gator does? What's the profit of it? And well, people are going to have to answer for themselves. People will spend their time how they will spend their time. I hope to finish with this business like ASAP because this stinks. It drags your spirit down and I have my own personal feelings about it. Well, there you go. There is Jessie Czebotar. And y'all conclude what you conclude and think what you will. And I think what I will. And I don't think much of it. All right. Lord bless you guys.